Welcome. If I could just Karakia. Kia ora te marino. Kia whakapapa honamu te moana. Hei huarahi mai tātou I te rangi nei. Aroha atu, aroha mai, tātou I a tātou kātua. Huie, tai kie. And just to give you the translation, may peace be widespread, may the sea be like greenstone, a pathway for us all this day. Let us show respect for each other, for one another, bind us all together. Kia ora. Kia ora. Well done. All right, good morning and welcome. This is our 28th of February Community Board meeting. I'd just like to remind everybody that this meeting is recorded, and I'd like to welcome all of our public forum speakers and just remind you, you do have 5 minutes. I have a great timing tool here in front of me to speak, and the board may ask some questions of you to clarify. Online we do have board member Caroline Hodman and also Councillor John Grant. So good morning everybody.
Morning.
All right, and I'd like to invite our first public speaker, which is Natasha Hall.
Hi.
If you'd like to you're welcome to come and sit or stand at the end there.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Natasha, and thank you for taking the time to listen to what I've come to speak to everyone about today. I'm here on behalf of obviously myself, my family, but there's also a few other concerned citizens in regard to excessive speeding in Whitianga residential streets. I live on Coupe Drive, and multiple drivers speed up to 100 kilometres an hour multiple times a day. This frequently occurs. It's not just a one-off. It's been happening for a couple of years, but it's just getting worse and worse. Over the past 2 years, I've had on 2 occasions cars actually lose control and crash into our property. Both times while we were away, luckily, but they narrowly missed our vehicles parked in the driveway. Our neighbour also had another car wipe out on his property, and that caused $6,000 worth of damage to his vehicle and wall and fence. I'm not talking about the cars that drive, say, 5 kilometres, 10 or 15 kilometres above the speed limit. There are a few offenders in town that will actually drive well over 100 kilometres, and it's not just our street. A few weeks ago, the reason why I decided to come and ask to speak is because I was putting my son into the car, and a guy came across. He was on the opposite side of the road, and he had his window down, and he was bouncing. He was clearly on some sort of drug. He was just completely out of control. I was too scared to actually look at him again, because you just don't know what these people are going to do. I put up a post on Facebook asking people to let me know if their road constantly has excessive speeders, not just the odd one, but if they see dangerous driving on a regular basis. I had 91 comments, and I asked people to list the name of the road. Some of the comments mentioned that they had been to the police about it previously. A lot of people were concerned that someone could be killed or harmed. So I do actually I wrote down the list of the main names that were mentioned. I didn't bother to include the ones like out of town, like there was people concerned obviously about Kuatunu, the 309, the Tapu Road and things like that, where they've had narrow misses with near head-ons. But my concern today is just about the residential roads, and I wanted it to be noted in a meeting like this, because if there is a death or more harm to property, then at least I felt like I did the best I could to bring this to the forefront. Some of these offenders swap licence plates, so you see one licence plate on one car one day and then they have a different licence plate. On Saturday, maroon hatchback went past our house, extreme speed with a licence plate on the front or the back. So the other thing is, residents that I've talked to, including myself, we don't want speed humps, because these can pose issues themselves. There's wear and tear on vehicles hit them, you hear scraping, there's more exhaust fumes. I personally don't want a speed hump outside my house, but I have a few suggestions. Would like to see a greater police presence. We'd like the main offenders' cars taken off the road if they persist with dangerous driving. Perhaps the vehicles with constant and very serious offenders, their vehicles could be impounded. I have been told by a member of the public that some of these cars have not been registered or warranted since 2018, and a lot of them don't even have licences. The police know which streets they live on. I've personally had private messages about who they are, what streets they live on. Obviously, I'm not going to say, but my suggestion is the community board could give more funding to the community patrol, that could enable a monitoring system in certain streets. So if they had more money, they could be driving around these streets, they could manually record number plates, perhaps they could have a video camera on their dashboard and actually catch these people in action. Police have said they need footage. I think that if they waited in certain areas for more than an hour, they would see people, because I've counted some days more than 20 vehicles. Then we've also got the racing around at night between 2 and 3 a.m. with motorbikes, revving. Sometimes the cars drive past our street, and I've been told by a neighbour that they turn the headlights off at extreme speed and just race up the street with no headlights. Another possibility.
Sorry, Natasha, that's your 5 minutes.
Okay,
thank
great.
you.
I'm done.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming in. You mentioned you'd been to the police and
No, I have not personally.
Oh, so
been to
you.
the police.
Sorry.
There's a reason for that.
Sorry.
But I have neighbours and friends, and a lot of people said that they had been to the police. I didn't go to the police because my son was physically assaulted last year on Simpsons Beach, my 6-year-old, by a man, and nothing was done about that. And I went back and forth with the police on multiple occasions with my photos, with my doctor's report, ACC report about my son's injuries, and nothing was done. So I didn't feel like me going in to talk to them about the excessive speeding really was going to make a difference.
Just through the chair, Natasha, is there any time of the day when there's more of the speeding activity?
4:30 this morning, there was one car that did 4 passes.
Excuse me, we're just
That's
having
fine.
this conversation around this table, thank you.
Okay. So yeah, usually between 2, 3 and 4 in the morning, and then sometimes about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There is no set regular time, but you know, sometimes I see the same car and think, oh, it's that person again.
Thanks for coming in. Would a good outcome, I know, oh sorry, Dali, did you have a question? No. I couldn't see there. Would a potential outcome, and we'd obviously need to have a conversation as a board, be for the board to write to the police and sort of say we've had some concerns from the public?
I think so, yeah, I just think
I'm just trying to understand,
or have a meeting.
I mean, it's a policing problem.
Oh, definitely.
And we are very limited in what we can do. I mean, we can do traffic calming, which is speed humps and things like that, which you're saying potentially is not the solution. So I'm just, I appreciate you coming and talking about this. I'm just sort of trying to think about what an outcome could be that, you know, there's obviously the community patrol piece, but what we could do to help support this. So obviously we need to have a conversation, but that may be something we can do. Another
option would be curb extensions, which is not the same obviously as a speed hump, but it's basically I don't know if you know what they are, but there's probably, yeah, I've seen it overseas. So there's a semicircle that comes out on a big wide road, which is a curb. Actually, a new curb is built and it's got grass on it, so it's maintained by the council, and that just slows traffic down, because a lot of the problems on the roads, such as like Coupe, Joe Driscoll Drive, Arthur Street, White Street, is where you've got a straight, wide road. I think a pinch point is not as good, but that's when they do it twice, and then one car has to wait for another car to come through. But then I guess if there's emergency vehicles, that could possibly slow them down. But I think curb extensions, if there was a change to the roads, would be a much better preference. And aesthetically, it's more pleasing to just have a curb with grass rather than a big yellow and black painted speed hump.
Okay. Well, I appreciate. Oh, sorry.
Just as the chair, do you think we should be getting to the root of that problem, get those offenders, as you know, because if we do that, all this curbing, I think we're working to them.
I know, I agree, and I think that there's, I don't know, maybe less than 10 of the worst offenders, or 5 or whatever. If their cars were impounded and then crushed, That would send a message to the other ones racing, oh, I better not do that because I'm going to lose my car. But there's certain people that live on certain streets and they're known for other crimes and other things as well. It's not just isolated to the speeding, but the speeding is what could kill a child or an elderly person or cause more damage and loss to property, and that's what I'm concerned about. Because if something does happen, at least I know I've tried my best to get these main offenders out of our town.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you didn't go first.
All right, there's no problem.
All right.
All right, next I would like to invite Koval Hardy. Morning.
Kia ora, everybody.
Kia ora.
Sorry for using my phone today, didn't really organise anything else. So.
No, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, yes, if you just want to share your thoughts and what you.
Yep. So, hi everybody, my name is Cobb Whitey.
Oh,
I am one of the senior sports leaders at Mercury Bay Area School. The reason myself and others that I have spoken to about not liking the community basketball hoop here in town is because of it being metal. The balance on it is completely different, and it's just confusing everybody's shot. So what I mean by that is at school we had over 10-foot plastic or glass sort of hoops and rims that we're shooting on, and when we come here and play, it's just completely a different kind of thing, and it's changing our muscle memory when shooting. So I feel like it's just putting lots of students and kids off coming and using it because, you know, we're going to try and compete for a game that we're going to play. We're going to be shooting on our usual 10-foot plastic kind of glass hoops instead of coming here and using the middle ones. So otherwise it's just changing our shot. That's pretty much it. Yeah, and also the rims were slightly higher as well. It's just changing more shooting. Yeah, it has a big difference and impact on the game.
Perfect, all right, thank you. Dali, the question?
So, like, you've got kids obviously who are in basketball teams, junior basketball, senior basketball. So would they do quite a lot of their training in the weekends down here at this court?
Yeah, we used to a lot. We had to bring in the glass of metal and what is you on the group chat on Sunday, just texting up what are the boys doing, you guys want to come down and have a jam, you know? Yeah.
So it's affecting the training for their team sports as well.
so through the chair, Koval, so this is my understanding of it. So this one here, like, there's a Morris one, and you got a Mercedes at the school. So what you need is one like at the school.
Pretty much, yeah.
I get you.
So just to clarify, the one we had previous, was that suitable?
That was suitable, yeah.
Yeah?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
100%.
Are there any other questions? No? Hey, look, thank you so much for coming down and expressing that. Really appreciate it. I'll put my hand up and act as a bit of a conduit and just make sure that this dialogue carries on. I really appreciate it. It's great to see some young people come and talk to us about what's happening in the community. Sorry, Gary. Yeah, tell them it wasn't that bad. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Koval.
Thank you guys.
All right. Okay. All right. May I next invite Lance is gone. Hello, ladies. Ladies from the museum. Rebecca and Leslie. Well, it's Rhythmia. I was thinking, what do I say?
Leslie, come on up.
Kia ora koutou.
Kia ora, Karakia.
I thought I'd bring a prop, then you'll kind of know what we're talking about.
Just to clarify, although I work for TCDC, I'm on the trust board for the museum and represent the Historical Society, which is why I'm here today.
And I just rely on support. Okay, so so my name is Bex Cox. I'm the manager of the Mercury Bay Museum, and we've come along today to talk to the application we've made to the Community Board for some funding. And the funding is from the Mercury Bay Community Board Discretionary Fund or the Natural and Cultural Heritage Fund. So it's an application for $2,900 excluding GST. And what it is we purchased these VR headsets with funding from Te Papa to be included in our outreach program. Part of that reason is with the Buffalo program, we were able to get 3D imagery of the buffalo as it is in 2021, which we can, because it's been 3D scanned, look at through the VR headsets. So basically the children, anybody can dive the wreck. However, there's a bit of a glitch with these in that they currently need Wi-Fi. They connect to the internet. Once I get into Sketchfab, which is the program where this sits, the children are pretty smart and know how to get out of it. And when they're putting the goggles on, they've got to sit and I've got to stand to get it right. And then, so it's kind of a bit of a mix around. I'm speaking to my colleagues at Auckland Museum. They've come up with an application that we can have, which is the 2900, which is built and attached to a tablet. The tablet then controls what the VR headsets are seeing.
A classroom full of headsets.
A classroom full of headsets. At the moment we only have 2, but this is the dream. We can have up to 5 on that current application. So once the application is built and installed on our tablet, we have complete control. We don't need to go back to them to update. They don't need to do anything. We can drop video, images and 3D scans in. The other really cool thing about this is that we're also applying for funding to scan some of our precious tonga in the museum, which is basically locked away in boxes that nobody would ever see. For instance, a 200-year-old wedding dress from a very prominent family. We are, as I said, getting funding to scan that. So once that's scanned, it can then be viewed on the headsets rather than being touched.
Preserves the original.
It preserves the original. Because we have it scanned, it goes into a program called Sketchfab. Sketchfab is available worldwide. So we can actually say to a family member in England, go on to Sketchfab, go into the museum, you'll see the wedding dress.
Wow.
So basically what it's doing is it's making our tonga accessible, not locked away, easy to use, no Wi-Fi connection. And after being at the Careers Expo and watching the team use exact same headsets, they were struggling because of the Wi-Fi and the glitch. And future-proof, we have control, no need to go back to the team to get them to do anything for us. And as I said, the scanned 3D images and sit on a platform for everybody to see. And we can, I've just been sent footage from Gallipoli of a flyover, so with our ANZAC outreach program, we can do that. These will be part of our outreach program for in schools, at the museum, and our wonderful Museum on the Go trailer when it's built over this year. So this funding will really put our outreach program to that next level and move. Yeah.
Thank you, Bex. Any questions, Bess?
Just through the chair, I total all this kaupapa for the.
Thank you. Yes, Delly.
How's the trailer going, and what support did you get with the trailer?
We have had a meeting. We had the BA5, the Business After 5, in the museum. We had just under 50 people attend, which was fantastic. I got a little bit passionate apparently we've had really awesome feedback from the community. Everybody I talked to. I'm already getting collaborations with DOC around C Week, the library, the RSA have come on board, St Andrews Op Shop have come on board to help with some funding as well. So what I'm doing at the moment, I'm meeting with Mercury Bay Business Association today. They really want to help us drive it as well. We've got an engineer, a local engineer, who's really keen to help us build it. The men's shed is on board to help fit it. Wow. So what we need now is more funds. So we're going to go, like I said, meet with Mercury Bay Business Association, make a plan, and then we'll go back out to these businesses that were really keen to help us and really start cementing some of that. But at this stage, I think we've got about 3,000 sitting there that's been promised to us. So
let's keep being passionate, because I think that gives people a stronger sense of how important the money is.
Yeah.
COVID has changed the way the museum, like everything else, works. It's you're no longer just able to sit there. We have to go out. We have to take our product out. Yeah, so
yes.
And this will be a community trailer built by the community, for the community,
Yeah.
and we'll be able to reach those community areas that a concrete building just doesn't. We still need our concrete building, don't get me wrong. 6,500 people, I mean, right now we're we've had the best February in the last 2 years. We've doubled our numbers since last year. So at the moment, we're just sitting under 5,000 people, and we've still got March, April, May, June to go. So fingers crossed where our numbers are there, but we still need to go out. And like I said, the RSA are really keen. They want to use it on their Anzac Poppy Days, and we're doing an outreach program around Anzac as well. So.
All right, thank you. Any other final questions? Anyone online? No? Appreciate you guys coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to play with the prop. Come and see what
Yeah, absolutely. You make it up, yes.
Right, we have 2 more people in public forum, Gary or Marguerite. Either of you wanting to speak this morning?
No. Gary, is anyone well?
No, that's fine. Just before I close public forum, I thought I should check with you both. Did you want to speak?
Yeah, quickly.
Yes, you may have 5 minutes.
So make a good use of it. Thank you very much. Thank you for supporting me after several years, 6 years, in my historic claim Super Gold Card use for the ferry, because you took it to TCDC, which I really appreciate. I have done a long-term submission, submission for this year, or for 2024 to 34. And I did this 2 years ago, and I was listening in where Senator Crowley was on the phone for the entire time I talked, so it wasn't really nice. Now, someone else mentioned because of all our road expenses, we don't have the money. And I thought, well, I wanted you to alert to the fact that TCDC is actually involved with the Whitianga ferry because of the little money everyone gets for every person who comes on the ferry, a couple of percentage or so. So I come with new ideas and think, how about TCDC actually hands it over to Waikato Regional Council, because obviously it is transport, and to find new ideas how we can support our little community, to say, well, that theme won't go away, because as I said, the only cemetery space in Ferry Landing, and people with lack of transport and lack of money are no longer able to visit the graves of their loved ones, including they decline visits to their GPs. So that is in the end very costly for mental health and health. So we had all of this backwards and forwards, but I do realize it comes back to money issues. And you have been voted in to be extremely clever and communicative and also very inventive and innovative. So I was hoping that we find a solution after all and see what's going to happen. My friend said when he came to Whitianga 30 odd years ago, or 40 years ago, the little ferry was about 50 cents, yeah, time had changed, $9 now. And so people are actually quite stuck. So talking about the elderly, the 80 plus, who then have to go to renew their driver license, which is sometimes very, very difficult. They have often no friends, and they're sitting there and wondering what happens, yeah? So most of the people outside in Waikato have no idea that that little ferry trip is only less than 7 minutes, and we pay an awful lot, and we are actually not very looked after when we talk about what we're going to do with the elderly, who are most of the time marginalized as well. So I was coming up initially with a plan that we could have a special person here who looks after the elderly, someone looks after the victims of abuse, and so on, so on. So that all didn't happen, that's okay. And but I want to have a spokesperson to be a little more aware of what's going on, and can we do something better Someone said, yes, very nice, Marguerite, you are extremely passionate about it, but is someone passionate about it, about you? So have you decided to come up with a plan to help, to give those people a little deduction or talking about Super Bowl count, the use of the
I think where this ended, and Heather, probably you can jump in here, the funding would come from WRC, so we had
We've written a letter
asking for this to be considered under that.
asking the Mayor and C to further those conversations.
That's right. Thank you for refreshing my memory. But perhaps, were there any other questions for Marguerite? Perhaps after this we can sit down and have a conversation about the latest.
Yeah, so highly regarded with Scott Simpson, Lance Soul and all the other people of the community. Yes, someone else said might have not enough signatures. Yes, we have more than 1,000 signatures, so that's not the problem. So it's not the problem about us in the community. We do know we got a problem and we want to help, to give a little incentive for people who pay actually more rates than anyone else in the country. And I said, it's actually kind of completely unfair that people can go from Auckland to Waiheke Island and use all the transport in the world. We don't have any transport. We don't have any roads. We need the ferry. So I'm just making.
That was your 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. I'll make a good use of applying again so that we are integrated in the new 2024-3 long-term plan. So for you to be alerted and that I am still supporting the elderly here.
Yes. All right. We might include it in our submission to the W.
Yes, but also they should.
Yes. Sorry, just one comment. The Waikato Regional Council transport plan is their submissions process is open at the moment, and that is something that you might consider making a submission to. Oh, you have? Yes. And when this board puts their submission together, that's something that perhaps we need to include as well.
Yeah,
we do
that was the land transport plan that's out for regional council. You've done that one.
Yeah.
I've done it 2 years ago, I've done it now.
Thank you so much. Thank you for speaking. All right. Is there anybody else for public forum?
Libby online.
Libby is behind me. Hello. Good morning, Libby.
Sorry, this is my copy.
Morena.
You're on mute, Libby. We can't hear you.
No, we can't hear you. Is your mic turned up, or is it our end?
No, because we had people talking earlier.
I don't want those people and other people on it. I said you face there, Donna.
Do you want to try?
Donna, somebody.
I can't hear you.
Start from the time.
Sorry, hun, we can't hear you.
Can we just call her on her phone and put it on speaker?
Oh, can we do that?
I don't have a mobile number for her.
I've got my phone. See, I don't have a number though. My phone. Oh, my. Pause.
I'll just email.
Hang on. I think if you could just email through your mobile number, we'll ring you. You could all just chat amongst yourselves while we sort out these technology glitches.
Yeah.
Where is it? Oh,
Sorry. Also, I just couldn't read the whole,
is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. Marguerite just asked you to make a copy. That's your only copy, did you say?
Yeah, which I have put the email.
Yeah, I can run it to someone. Where are we going?
Please, thank you.
No, that can't be right, because she's not answering.
Thank you.
Morning. Okay, can you turn your Volume down on your computer. Or is it that?
No, it's her volume.
It's her volume, yeah.
Okay.
All right, now can you hear me through your phone?
Put it on my,
Yeah, I can. I was going to literally call you on my phone. That's what I was saying.
Oh, sorry. All right, this works though.
Yep, we can hear you.
It works.
Can you hear us?
Right, you there?
Yeah, can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we'll do it this way then.
Okay.
Good morning, thank you. Just to remind you, you've got 5 minutes.
Okay.
what in a living?
All right, yeah, just go. Let us know.
Just touching base again about the idea of having our surf school at Buffalo Beach. We've had a mediation meeting. I was told that that information is private, I can't share it, which I thought wasn't allowed in the TCDC office. However, the minutes don't seem to match the recording, and I haven't been sent the recording. In the minutes it said I agree that 2 surf schools can't be at Buffalo Beach, which I don't remember agreeing to. So I'm still pushing for 2 surf schools at Buffalo Beach. There is a licence that hasn't been used. Dive Zone has left their licence behind and it hasn't seemed to be filled. So I've been trying to query that for the last year. The other surf school has south of the stream and we would like north of the stream. The Surfing New Zealand had recommended a buffer zone, which I have asked privately through an email. And I forget the distance, but it's maybe 200 metres or 500 metres, which is completely fine at a large beach. I've heard that the other surf school are running on a Monday afternoon, but are busy at Matarangi Wednesday, Thursday, Friday afternoons. Still getting emails saying that 1 surf school isn't fair because they're getting priced out of surf lessons, so 2 would be more beneficial for this area. I believe maybe they got some of the funding that we got taken off us, which is cool. That's great for kids to have funded surf lessons. I had 2 private meetings saying that I was getting a transitory licence, and then the mediation occurred, and there was no discussion about how 2 surf schools could work at one beach, even though there are 2 boats, 2 other competing, you've got boats and kayaks all going out to different beaches. They said Tauranga does have processes to have 2 surf schools, but this council doesn't yet. We're still keen, we're still waiting. I'd love to run an after-school program for kids that want to learn with me. I think choice is fair. I think that's actually child's rights to have choice about 2 different surf schools and how we run. So I was given a licence at Paranui for 1 year. I was there all summer. It says I can reapply 4 months before it runs out, which I've asked to do, and I have not received an application form for this. I've been told he needs to have a meeting. This is a mediator that was at the meeting. So I obviously want to run my surf school. I want to set up signage. This is something I'm good at, and I live here in this area, and I'd like to do it. And so I keep hitting these walls. Ngāti iwi said, yes, do a petition. You've been well missed. And I don't want to have to keep going round and round in circles because what we offered was amazing, and we still haven't got a licence to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's frustrating. So, I mean, yeah, Paranui would be great. I've set up my business there, sure, but I'm still waiting for that licence to be renewed. So I can't spend the money, I can't put in that time, and I'm just not sure what to do. So I'm a single mum trying to set up a business, do what I can, and it sucks. So.
Okay, hey, look, I appreciate you coming and talking to us. I just want you to know that concessions are something that aren't handled by the board, they're handled by staff, but we absolutely, I certainly hear that there is a big issue here. There's not a lot that I could comment or anyone could, sorry, does anyone have any questions of Libby before we?
Yeah.
Hang on.
Libby, if you were able to operate off Buffalo Beach and you're saying north of Tapu Tapuatia?
Yes.
Yeah, so whereabouts would you operate off if you could, if that was a possibility?
So there's a walkway that goes along the stream or across the bridge. I also want to query what's happening with the boat club area, because I'm not sure what's happening with that for the future, but it's something we would look into if we can share that space as well.
Okay, all right. I think we all hear your frustrations. As I said, this isn't a board, concessions aren't a board decision. Sorry, that's your time. But what I will do is that I will endeavour to get some staff involved and really look at this and get a solution. And that's my commitment in my deputy chair's hat to you, that we will get some movement on this and get this looked at, ahead of the concessions opening up. All right, so can you just leave it with me? I've got your mobile number now, and yeah, all right. Sorry, it's not a decision of this board, so there's not a lot that I can do, but I can put my size 7 foot in and see what will happen. All right, thanks, Libby.
Go on, Libby.
All right.
Wow.
All right, may I please, thanks Libby, have a mover and a seconder to, oh, sorry Libby, I'm gonna hang up, good, she's gone. Receive public forum, please. Thank you, Bess, and thank you, Peter. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, none, carried. Now, it was very remiss of me, I did forget to do our attendance and apologies. So I do have an apology from Board Chair Chrissy Robertson, and we have our other 2 members online. May I have a mover and a seconder, please?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Deli. Seconded by Bess. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, carried. Okay, thank you. That takes us to item 1.4, items not on the agenda. I think our agenda packet's looking pretty tidy.
No, nothing else has been
Yep.
raised through me.
Thank you. Any conflicts of interest? No? Thank you. Right, that's 1.6 on page 3, which is our minutes for confirmation. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please?
I'll move.
Thank you, Peter. Seconded by
Yes.
Dele, Bess. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, so page 10, item 2.1, request for funding for the Mercury Bay Museum. We just heard from Leslie and Bex in the public forum. Who's talking to this? Heather, I'm happy to move this from the chair. Do I have a seconder?
Chairperson, are you moving to approve it or decline it? Because there was 2
Sorry,
options.
approve it
Or receive the report with funding or altogether.
1 and 2 with the wording approves a grant of 2,900.
Thank you.
Yep. Seconded by Bess. All those in favour?
Aye.
Sorry. From the discretionary budget or your natural cultural heritage fund?
Sorry, I had it highlighted here. I was going to say Natural Cultural and Heritage Fund.
Thank you.
I'd be in favour of that one.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah, me too.
Yes.
Thank you, board.
Did we get to all those in favour?
Yep. You were starting your vote. I don't think it was finalised.
Okay, so me supported by seconded by Bess. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, carried. Thank you. Item 3.1, which is the Whitianga water supply strategy on page 21.
We need bricks.
We need Brett, and I saw Mo. I don't know if we need them both.
I think we'll need bricks.
All right.
Yeah.
We're moving quickly this morning, Mo.
Yeah. No flies on this board. That was a quick turnaround. You better run, mate. Run.
Oh, we've got the whole team. I'm feeling very special this morning.
There's 3 chairs there.
Welcome. Good morning.
What a handsome looking lineup we've got this morning.
Thank you.
You're in this thing,
I know that's the other way around, isn't it? Okay.
Hot
Good
topic,
morning.
thank you.
Chairman, Community Board members, we'll be talking on and giving you an update on the Whitianga Water Supply Strategy Study. We are going to update you on that and give stage 1 outcomes, outline next steps and the key risks. This study has been undertaken in 2 stages. Stage 1 comprised the identification of preferred water supply management options and a strategic approach. Stage 1 is now complete. Stage 2 comprises the finalisation of the water supply strategy, which will include short and long-term options and their programming from investigations through to implementation. This work is yet to commence because we will be taking this through to council to get formal approval and endorsement once it's been reviewed here. The need for the strategy. Following the 2019 drought event, council requested water services staff to undertake the investigations to find an additional water source to secure the public water supply in Whitianga. And we are talking about the design horizon for the strategy being up to 50 years. The objectives of the strategy will be to provide a secure, resilient, long-term water supply, provide solutions to the local conditions, provide solutions appropriate to the local environment, and provide solutions that are feasible and achievable. The Whitianga Water Supply Strategy has 3 key areas of focus. The first one is to reduce. This is looking at household and consumer demand. The next one is to improve, and that is improving supply network performance. Looking at our network, where are the losses, what can we do to improve it, renewals, upgrades, etc. And the last one is to increase. Looking at where is the supply of available water that we will need for potentially up to that 50-year period. Strategic areas 1 and 2, reduce and improve, build on existing work programs with some new options that can be implemented or started in the short to medium term, meaning within the next 5 years, which will reduce water demand and improve resilience. Areas 1 and 2 represent programs that will be continued over time as part of the water services team business as usual. Strategic area 3, the increase, represents a very much larger project to provide significant additional water to Whitianga. Strategic area 3 has that longer focus, but the implementation is potentially required within the next 10 to 15 years to meet peak demand and growth, but will need to be confirmed post-installation of the reduce and improve. The timing for 3 is totally dependent on how well 1 and 2 achieve. And what we've done is we've put the table together here, tables 1 and 2. And the key part there is we look at if we do nothing. So that is option 1 or scenario 1. Where there's no reduction in water consumption, no reduction in net losses, etc. Then we look at if we get a 10% reduction, and just as a bit of information on that, Tauranga brought in meters, they have seen around 10 to 20% reduction. New Plymouth have just introduced 50% of their township on meters, and they have already seen a 10 to 15% increase, and they are now deferring water pump station upgrades and other renewal work or upgrade work because of the reductions that they've seen. Now we've got to temper that by saying down in Whakatane they put it in, and within 5 years they started to see a reduction in the savings that they achieved. So that is why we're saying just putting meters in doesn't work. There needs to be an education process, an ongoing changing of things like saying, here are water saving devices that you can use in your property. working towards, everybody's got a tank, a water retention tank. One of the hydro loops, which there's a trial up in Auckland that we're going to go and look at, where they take water from the shower, laundry, etc., and recycle that for particular applications. And they're saying that can reduce the water use by up to 50%, depending on the size of the family, etc. So those are the things that we need to keep going to maintain the reductions that we could see through region.
So Brett, through the chair, if there was creative thinking, for example, it could be part of new builds, you've got to have a roof tank too, which I've been bleating on about for years, for your home, for your garden, for your boat, whatever. But also these schmicko new things fit in behind the wall in the bathroom / laundry, and quite difficult to retrofit, I understand, but in a new build,
they're very easy. They become,
the
wall partition, instead of being this big, becomes this big in that area, and it just fits in the wall.
So we could legislate for that sort of thing. If we were a forward-thinking council, we could actually legislate that we could have a roof tank. I don't know why Matarangi hasn't got that as a condition of their consent. You've got to have a roof tank, B, you've got to have grey water recycling.
Sure. Yeah. So as you can see here from those scenarios, we've looked at 10, 15 and 20%. And what it's showing for the water abstraction, if we got a 20% reduction and we're able to maintain that, basically the water usage in peak season will be the same as it is now.
Question from John Grant online. John.
Yeah, good morning, and thanks. I've had a read of the report. Just a few questions to help my understanding. So the purpose of the report is obviously to make sure we've got adequacy of supply to the Whitianga reticulated area. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so the second question that I'd have that's related to that is one that has already been raised in regard to I didn't see anything in the report around, our own tanks or other forms of water, such as bores and trying to ensure that there was some degree of resilience by people themselves in regard to having some degree of water supply. And I think you partly covered that. But the third question that I really wanted to raise was over summer this year, and I've seen the tables and the adequacy of the current supply and the projections going forward, but we still had water restrictions this year, which I understand, even albeit for a brief period of time, was a result of silt in the water because of rain that occurred.
Yes.
And there's nothing in that report in regard to the adequacy of our ability to be able to treat that water to avoid those situations from occurring. So just wondered if you wanted to sort of comment on that as a ongoing issue, because we were very fortunate this period that we didn't get a lot of rain activity and therefore silting. But is that something that you've had a look at?
Good morning, Councillor Grant, and through the chair, I'm happy to answer those questions, and I'll do them back to front. So the Whitianga water treatment plant is a brand new plant. It's a membrane filtration plant. Like any mechanical equipment anywhere in the country, it can only handle so much of turbidity in the water. And when it is extremely high, for the health of the plant, we shut it down until the muddy water passes. Usually we manage it through storage. We're very good storage in Whitianga. We're building another tank, another 500 cubic tank. And so that's how we secure the supply. And so there is no plans to build another new treatment plant, but it's a case of managing flows. And it's few and far between, like it might be for a few days a year. It doesn't happen too often. Regarding the second question about bores, we did look at the bores. There were some old bores in Whitianga which we looked at as the previous part of the same study. And apparently they turned out to be generating hot water or saline water. And that option was discounted very early on in the piece, and that's why we went to a surface water auction. The benefit we have with the surface water auction is that we've got a very good resource consent. And during winter time, our demand is pretty low, but we are still allowed to capture the same amount of water. So if you are able to capture it during winter time and store it, we can use that during summer without having to develop a new source. So that's one of the options we have, because we looked at a few alternative surface water sources in Whitianga. They're hard to come by, or if they do come by, the pipe work is quite expensive. So we need to do a little bit more work in that space. And regarding rainwater tanks, there has been debate for both sides of the equation, having tanks or not having tanks. Having tanks during if people have like 1,000 or 2,000 cubic meter tank, they will have some storage. But when they do run out of water, they'll probably turn up at the treatment plant to get a tank load to fill up their tanks. And in 6 or half a dozen, we can encourage people to have tanks, definitely no harm done. But also bear in mind that if we do have a lot of tanks across the district, when they do run out, people will turn up at the treatment plant to top up their tanks, which means to be a high drawdown in a short space of time. So I think it needs to be balanced. I don't have an answer for you right now, but it's something we are looking at, trying to get that balance right. Hopefully that answers.
Sorry, no, through the chair, I would also say that we have the new water treatment reservoir tank that's just going in at the moment, or we're just connecting it through to commission it. Commission it, it's to get it into the system so it's working with the other tank. There is thought that we may turn the old timber tank, once we've repaired the roof on that, into a raw water storage tank. And what that would do is potentially during winter periods, then we would have 3/4 of a day of supply of raw water that could then be put through the plant while the Whangamarau is out of service due to high turbidity.
Right.
Because typically the water treatment plant only goes off for 6 to 12 hours when we have the storm. Just during the peak period, when the turbidity drops, then we can start running it again, even at a lower rate. That is why we're looking at those options of how do we operate the two tanks with raw water for water. If it's raw water, then it can just sit there. We don't have to have it turning over. Whereas with treated water, the chlorine will slowly decrease and then it's not usable. So you want the fresh water to keep flowing through, but raw water could sit there. So I'm looking at how we build that option in there, and do we turn it into a raw water, do we leave it as full water, and then keep supplying during that period. So there are several options to it. And Councillor John, you are correct, it is during high turbidity periods. We did not have a lot of incidences of that, but during the major storms of Hale anniversary weekend and Gabrielle, we were still able to supply water even with restrictions to Whitianga. So, we do have some resilience in the system. It does stretch us to our maximum, but we can keep supplying water. We just need to take the plant off for the peak high turbidity periods.
Through the chair, if I may please take a moment, better late than never. We should have introduced our new EPS engineer, Shama. Shama's been with us for a few months now, slowly bringing him on board. So we thought it was a good opportunity because he's driving this project to come along and meet the board. So,
nice to meet you.
Welcome. You get to meet everyone's favourite board.
Yes, board.
Right, so just coming back to the tables, so this gives you an idea of the sort of resilience we can have in our existing system with some reductions due to the strategies areas focus areas 1 and 2. There will be expansion of usage and we can build that into there, but we still believe that what it determines for us at this point in time is that strategy focus area 3, which is increase, we won't need to turn that project on till probably year 11 from now. So it's outside the current LTP period of 24-34, but we will be reviewing that during the LTP because we need to confirm what level of saving we are actually achieving. So that's why we've said it's dependent on there. It may come, the focus area 3 may come into the LTP at a next review or the following review based on what we are achieving. But at this point in time, we're saying we are looking probably around 15 plus years before that dam or whatever system we have in place needs to be built.
Mo first and then Delhi.
Sorry, go Mo.
Yeah, and in relation to that, we did some forward thinking yesterday to Brett, myself and Shema, just in terms of timing of when we put funding in the LTP. So we are in the 24 to 34 period, and if everything goes well, then say you look 10 years in front, so that will be the LTP starting 34, 44. But we will need to put some money in the 30 to, in the 30, I think it's 24, 27, 30 to 40
Yeah.
to do some preliminary work so we can get it costed properly to include it in the next LTP. Otherwise, we will only start work there, which means it will take longer to finish.
But there will be OPEX.
That will be OPEX.
Okay.
Sorry, dear.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just looking at the financial year, the 5th page of that report, and Mo's heard me sing from this song sheet before around review of subdivision code water supply guidelines. So if we're going to permit developers to develop, my concern that I've expressed to Mo before is that interdepartmental lens on what our planning department is allowing developers to develop. And even though I hear what you're saying, Mo, about the water tanks maybe being of limited use, they would be of use, certainly if there was high turbidity and there were restrictions. I still have that strong sense of personal responsibility, and having worked for UNESCO, that water is it's a gift, it's a tonga, and it's not something that you waste willy-nilly either. So I'm very hot on the review of subdivision code water supply, and also on the education side of it. And like I intimated before, we could be a very forward-thinking council and say all new developments, people have to have grey water recycling built into their new house. Back in the day, because I've been around here for a long time, 40 plus years, we had roof tanks. So you had a heather tank. So if somebody had to fix something in your street, you knew you had X number of litres on your roof, literally, to see your household through until that was repaired. So there are a few old school things like the water tanks and the heather tanks, new school things like the recycling of grey water. I think we could be quite forward-thinking.
Through the chair, I have to say some thoughts about the priorities of the 3 stages. And I look at the drought that we had in 2019, 2020. We're now 4 years down the line, and we've got a strategy study on our desk now. And to me, it seems to have taken quite a long time. I would have thought a drought would be alarm bells ringing. We need to look at sorting out our water supply. In the program that you presented, we've got stage 1 and stage 2, and the main strategy objective was to provide a secure and resilient long-term water supply for Whitianga. Stage 1 and stage 2, you're really looking at what we've already got in place and working with that. My thought is that I would have liked to have seen greater priority attached to stage 3, which is the supply of water. You referred to it being a next 10 to 15 years to meet that goal. I'm aware of how long it takes for these things to get in place and underway, for a plan to be made, for resource management consent to be granted, for funding to be allocated, for contractors to be appointed, for the work actually to happen. And we're looking at 10 to 15 years, even if we start today. In your report, you say that you want to wait for up to 2 years to 2026, 2027 to assess the effect of implementing stages 1 and 2 before we start to look at what's going to happen for the longer term supply. And here's where I make the comment that I'd prefer to see the priority with stage 3 being acted on and progress from that.
Mo had his hand up.
Couple of comments. In terms of the drought we had a few years ago, one of the first things we did was increase the ability to take more water. We had a consent for 6,100 cubic meters per day. We carried out ecological studies, and work at the Whitianga Council, we do know how, and we were able to get to 8,000. That's a significant jump. And the treatment plant capacity is also 8,000. So even if we get more water, that's the maximum we can treat for a day. And during peak periods, what we have found is the demand hovers anywhere between about 5,700 to about 6,300 a day, 6,500 max. So we're able to manage. The philosophy behind looking at long-term investments for additional storage is actually deferring capital expenditure. In other words, getting the level of expenditure right, rather than spend too much. So if we can reduce water consumption and manage demand through the first 2 interventions, we may not need to build as a bigger storage, or we can stage the storage, like we get a large piece of land and say, okay, this thing will only build 2,000 cubes, 20 years time, they can have. So there are a few options. And the other reason for getting that 2-year window is that we have still not started reading any meters in Whitianga, so we've only just installed them. So we will start reading them from the next financial year, and we'll at least have about 2 years of data to see the implications. And like what Red pointed out, that alone in other cities generates about a 20% reduction in demand. So which means you can defer capital expenditure because you've got that storage in the system. So there's few more things to happen. For a point well made, but there's few more things to happen before we get to that, and that's why we have staged it.
Yes, sorry, Dylan.
Point well made, Peter, and I think what we're not very good at is telling good stories, and that's another thing I've seen for 10 years, that consent was increased post that drought period, and so a lot of people in the community don't understand that we've had a really dry summer this year, apart from a couple of events, there's been no problem with the water supply at all. So that perhaps is something that the people are saying, you know, merely campaigned on secure water supply, measures have been taken to increase our ability to supply water. And I don't think it's been told to the community. Yeah, but fair point, fair concern.
Were there other, sorry, did you want to carry on, Brett?
All I was going to go through was we had looked at several other options, like increasing the stream take. We don't believe that's feasible to go further than the 8,000. We are looking at recycling, but there are high costs and likely resistance from the community. Some of the most successful ones I've seen of that are where they put in a totally separate grey line. They recycle water, the council recycles water and sends it back out through a third line. So the infrastructure involved in that is quite large, but people then have this grey line that comes in and they use it for their gardening, etc. But infrastructure-wise, very high cost. And then still people won't use it because they know it's come from the waste treatment plant or stormwater treatment plant. They don't want to use it, they want to use fresh water. And taking groundwater, we know there is saline intrusion in this area. So we have looked at some of those options, and then as Peter has said, you know, we are looking at taking this to council for approval That will be in April. Council meeting to get the final endorsement on the strategy. We'll be implementing strategic areas 1 and 2. Water meters will be starting from the 1st of July. We are continuing with our network maintenance and renewals. We've just done a whole lot of leak testing around Whitianga and identified areas. That was done just before Christmas, wasn't it? And we've identified some of those areas.
So you'll start reading from 1st of July?
Well, we have been reading prior to that. And that's just to make sure that the system works. Yes. But the bulk reading, the charging will start from the 1st of July. And I'm just preparing a letter to go out with rates notices.
So, yeah, I was going to say people will be forewarned that this is coming.
Yes,
Yes.
I've just started it yesterday. Right.
Thank you.
So there will be some areas that we haven't what I call unbundled. Yes. For example, cross leases, which have one supplier for 2 properties. There is no benefit in trying to read a meter and split it. We need to separate those meters and have 2 meters. So some people will stay on the existing charge. There are some areas we couldn't find where their connection was, and we need to come back and do more work. And there are obviously other little holes in the place that we will pick up on those people.
And the time frame for that sort of sweep up and clean up, have you got a time frame in getting the rest of those unbundled?
Yeah, I think it's in year 3 and 4 of the SDP off the top of my head. We have budgeted.
Yeah, you have.
We have budgeted.
Yes, we have.
Good, thank you.
I think it comes under the universal.
Yeah, metering unbundling program. They are a little bit in the hard basket, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Separating it is not that easy. But we will choose them to, so we have budgeted for it. But the bulk of it, we get it off the ground.
We get a lot of, sorry, through the chair, but we get a lot of incidences where there are people disputing their charges and the rest because they say, I'm paying for my neighbour, he hasn't got a meter. So, you know, there's always little issues going on in other areas where we already have meters.
Will there be some sort of education, publicity that goes out to coincide with the start of the metering? Because I think that will diffuse some of the angst and anger that comes with people going, oh my God, because they'll see themselves as being charged more. So I think there needs to be quite a piece of work around educating the community, and also some of that really good stuff. I've worked in that space of, and kids are really good, school education gets back into the household, some sort of, what do we call it, collateral that can be used to promote how you can actually save money now that you're on a meter.
But through the chair, Shamal is part of his job is the water demand strategy, which is a universal one, and that looks at education, this leak detection program. So there's quite a few areas in there, including I&I. So we're looking totally across a variety of there, and education is part of that. And when we put in meters in the Thames Valley, I think that was 12 years ago, where we issued the letters to say that meters were going on, we had a booklet behind it as well. So my aim is now to please pull that back together and update it and have that go out. So we're not just giving them letters, we're going to give them letters and say, here are some information about metering, what you could look at looking for your own leaks in your own property, and how you could save money with tanks and other things.
Okay.
Through the chair, the water rate, will the ratepayer be charged for the water going in? And like Auckland Council, I know also charge for the water going out.
So that's the wastewater charge. In some parts, the wastewater charge is linked to the water charge, and the wastewater charge has got a multiplier. So the more water you use, the more you will pay for wastewater. And it's a way of managing demand. We haven't gone there yet. But what will happen is the people who pay a uniform and will charge for their property will get split. So they will pay a metered rate, and they'll pay a separate charge for the property. There'll be still a property related charge in the meter charge.
Through the chair, also the wastewater will still be a separate uniform charge. We are not looking at breaking that out, like Auckland has, and saying, I think it's 85% or whatever it is of the water that's used is your wastewater charge, so we will charge you on that. We will maintain the uniform for the wastewater at this time.
I'm not a finance person, so I'm not qualified to comment on that side, but at the appropriate
It's a dollar conversation.
All right, any final questions? Caroline?
Hi, I may not, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good morning.
Morena.
I'm just wondering about, I may not have quite heard it, there's a bit of noise going on in your background. About the water being paid for that comes into the property and then the discharge water. For example, I'm on a septic tank, so I wouldn't be paying the council for that, would I?
If you're on a septic tank, you wouldn't be paying for it, but if you're within the water service area and the council wastewater or water line goes past your property, that's standard under the Ratings Act, you will be paying a serviceable charge. Whereas if you're connected, then you will pay a service charge.
Right.
Sorry, could you repeat just two sentences?
Mo's coming to the speaker.
Okay, yeah, the speaker's at the wrong end of the room.
That's so far, unfortunately.
That's all right.
Thanks, Mo.
Can you hear me now, Caroline? Is that better?
Yes, loud and clear, perfect.
Right. If you are on a septic tank, you will not be paying a wastewater charge. But bear in mind, though, that if you are within the water or wastewater service area, and if a water council pipeline goes past your property, you will still be paying a serviceable charge because that facility is available. What you will not be paying is a serviced charge because you don't have a connection.
I do have a connection. I do receive water, but I discharge.
Wastewater. Now, if a wastewater line passes your property, but the wastewater is not connected to your property, you will still pay a serviceable charge because the council wastewater pipeline goes past your property.
Why would that be?
That's under the Ratings Act.
But it's less than if she was
connected.
Yeah.
Correct.
Cool.
Correct.
Because the option is there.
Yes.
Right. So I'm paying for an option I'm not using.
You're not fully paying for it because it's not fully serviced.
You're not connected, but it's available to you.
Heather has offered to just maybe do a little session with the board later on to just talk about sort of some of this rating stuff and how it is built up. So thank you, Heather. That's very useful. So we'll find a time so that we can all understand this. Did you have any other questions, Caroline? Okay, thanks. All right, well, thank you all. There's no other questions in the room. Thank you all for coming in and explaining that.
Have we received it?
No, we haven't. I was just going to do that. May I have a receiver, please? I'll move. Sally, seconded by Peter. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye.
Thank you, Chair, and board members. Really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you for my favourite community board.
Oh, we like to hear that.
I was waiting for these new guys to introduce them.
All righty. Thank you all. Nice to meet you. All right. So that takes us to item 3.2, which is on page 26, 2024-34 draft long-term plan update. Heather.
I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just very simply a list of the dates of anticipated dates for the long-term plan going to council on the 5th of March, and all going well, sign off from there would mean consultation starting from the 8th of March to the 8th of April.
Quick comment that those deliberation dates have now changed.
Have they changed?
Yeah, which you might have not been in.
It wouldn't have been in time for this.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So that's the 21st.
Okay, stretching your memory, what's the new date? 21st?
Well, because it's stuffed up my trip to Wellington, I'm really, really annoyed. So I know the dates. It's cost me over $300 in flight changes and missing a show. So yeah, really pleased.
So what are the new dates, Barry?
21st, 22nd.
Yeah, I think it's just moved 2 weeks earlier.
A week earlier.
Okay, well, let's have an actual look, make sure we get it right. But thank you. Is there anything else that you wanted to share about the long-term plan? I know you
No,
21st, 22nd.
I've got us scheduled on the 20th of March networking to do a session on a submission if the board decides to do that at that point.
Excellent.
Perfect. All right, thank you. May I have a move? I'll move it from the chair. May I have a seconder, please? Thanks, Bess. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Carried. Okay. Item 3.3, which is our correspondence report. May I have a move, please? Delhi, thank you. Seconded by?
Peter.
Thank you, Peter. Right, do we have any discussion? I have a question, and that is with regard to Stephen Knowles Ferry Crossing, Whitianga River Economic Development Team will respond. What are they responding with?
They were going to get back to him and discuss his ideas and concepts, but I can follow up with them and find out where they've got with that.
Yeah, because did we even?
What was he wanting?
He had this fantastic sort of chain pulley idea to get across the Whitianga.
Thank you, yeah.
And we sort of thought, how would that work with boats and things?
How would that work with the ferry?
It's inputting.
But this is your manual
inputting.
Getting across.
So I passed that on to Ali Davey, who is doing our tracks and trails works, and she was going to have a conversation and with Mitch and then go back to Stephen Knowles. So I can follow up and see whether that's been done.
Yeah, it'd just be good to know, because when we bump into folks that get excited about these things, yeah.
Through the chair, I've got another question.
Yes.
So that was Christmas, Tracy Bell and Manas Pretorius.
The last board meeting before Christmas, yes.
So how's it going? Because it's nearly March and they were quite desperate to get a site happening to get started on their, recycling processing and stuff.
Do you have any update on that question around the Mercury Bay Metals Recovery Centre group and possibilities of a site for them to set up now? I don't know, there was some conversations going on.
Sorry to put you on the spot, Mo.
Yeah.
We've got Lorenzo. I don't know who's better to maybe answer that question.
I know that, because I can tell you that Anna they were assessing some site options, which they were going to provide to Waihi Tukurua. And I don't know what the outcome of that is. I don't know whether Mo is.
I can give you a little bit of further update.
Thank you.
We have been liaising with Waihi Tukurua, and they've found an alternative site.
Temporary alternative?
Temporary
Thank
alternative
you.
site from where they can conduct a business. We did offer the Whitianga RTS as well.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of dialogue still going on in terms of where it will land. But we are speaking to each other in terms of a suitable location. That is still happening.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, and possibly, like if they went to an alternative site outside the RTS, even looking at giving some assistance in terms of rental. The waste will be found.
Okay. Oh, good. All right. And do we think that it's likely that they'll be able to get something up and running, in the next few months, or are we talking 6 months or a year, or?
I think it should be next few months.
Perfect.
But dialogue is happening. That's the most important.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
that's
good.
really good.
Thank you. Okay. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mike.
You, Spence?
Right, to the chair. I have been asked by a member of the public for an update on pension housing.
It's not part of this.
Yeah, should we,
No.
this is, maybe we could take that to our work program. This is just the correspondence report, but Heather's making a note of that and not going to let me forget it. Okay,
Alright.
thank you. Was there anything else relating to this correspondence report? Peter? No, nothing online? Did I do
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, you've got a member and second notice of regular.
Yep, okay, so no more questions. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None carried. All right, that takes us to our CAPEX work programme, item 3.4. How are we doing for time? Too bad.
Lorenzo online.
Lorenzo.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Hi Lorenzo.
Morena.
All right.
This is my first session in one of these community board meetings with this report.
Oh, right.
See how we go.
Be very afraid.
Lots of greens, which I always feel guilty about.
You know you got a way up after that.
I know you're going to be.
Because it's your
I know you're
first
going to
one.
hit me with questions, and I'll see what I can do.
Okay, all
All
right.
you can do is way out.
Questions for Lorenzo?
I'm just checking where I'm at.
One question I did have, we used to get like we have the plan on a page for the refuse transfer station.
Yes.
Can we reinstate the plan on a page for the sheriff block, please?
Yes, we can. Would you like me to give you an update of that, because it's not very exciting, unfortunately.
Yeah, I understand it won't be
That's all right.
exciting, but it's, yeah, an update would be good, and going back
Okay.
to a plan on a page would be useful.
Okay, plan on the page. That's all right. Plan on the page for sheriff block. Fine, we do that.
But what's happening? I see
Okay.
trucks.
Yeah. So we met with last week. We met with Peter Abrahamson.
Yep.
And to find out what's really happening. So to date, as reported, they have finished more than 50% of the raised platform that's going to be used for the Greenstone, festival.
Oh, yeah,
However, the market turned and things have changed and things have slowed down a bit. So their progress in terms of having surplus material to complete that has slowed down. So nothing has actually happened on that site for quite a while now, and it's unlikely that in the next few months anything will happen. So they've stabilized it. So there's a platform there, grass is growing on it, it's in good state, they've got the access road. They didn't quite finish the area that would be required for Greenstone. So Peter Abrahamson, Hoppers have been talking to Greenstone. They've mutually agreed, and it's getting formalised now, that they will get an extension to use the existing facility for another year.
So Lorenzo, through the chair, have they breached any conditions of the agreement that we had with them by doing that?
Yeah. Are we not meant to have a concert venue site?
Can we, through the chair, potentially
Yeah.
consider something we should take this offline and have the discussion?
Oh, okay, offline.
Offline.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But just back to your point, I'll get plan on a page and enacted for the sheriff block.
All right. So everything else seems to be looking quite green.
I've got a couple.
Go, Delhi.
Mercury Bay Boat Club Tapu Tapu RTS, but there's quite a lot of, seems to be a lot of angst and people putting things in the newspaper about that just not gaining any traction and a solution being found. Have you got the insights on that?
I actually don't, but can I refer to Dean Allen, who has has knowledge on that?
Oh, Dean was working. Hello, Dean.
Hello, board. I've been following your meeting this morning.
just observing. So through the chair, I can provide an update on the Mercury Bay Boat Club. So the last time I spoke to you, they had a consent lodged with TCDC for some minor infringements. That's still progressing. But the important thing was the discussion with the Department of Conservation around public notification for the Dundas Street site. They, at the moment, are working on a cultural values assessment of the site. Once that is completed, then they do anticipate that it would be publicly notified, and that would be a 20-day time frame, and would be for DOC to lead. And at this stage, they've indicated a hearing would be likely in early May, for completion in early May. So to have the hearing and then get everything done by early May. So that's the status in terms of the boat club and Dundas. The boat club have also reached out and said that they would like to get an endorsement from this community board to support them through the hearings process. So we couldn't make it work to get them to come to public forum this morning. So they're looking at either coming to public forum in 6 weeks' time, or they might come to a networking session in 3 weeks' time. So that's the update on the boat club.
Dean, thank you for that. Would it be possible to have in writing what they're seeking before they come and present? Because I feel sometimes we just get caught a bit short, either making a decision, having to discuss something we're not completely up to date on. I'd really appreciate like a cheat sheet that just says what is it they're looking for our support on.
Yeah, certainly. So the support they're looking for is their application to DOC, the concession application to DOC, but I can certainly find what the key points are and make sure that they're put to the board so that you know exactly what to consider and what not to.
Yeah. I have another one. Hahe Bollard, my favourite topic, agreed to review with community post the peak period and see if other measures are required. Heather's going to reply to that one. So you're off the hook.
At the meeting that we had the other day with the residents and ratepayers, we did ask Red Harris what they thought, and he said at the time that it seemed to be working well, but he was going to go back to their committee. I think they've got a committee meeting this week or next week.
Okay.
And he was going to seek feedback from them and then come back to us with that feedback from them, because that's what we asked them to do.
Excellent.
To provide us with feedback from how they saw it on the ground.
So I did speak with Penny Clayton, who's ex-chair of Hahe RRRA, and also St John's Ambulance First Responder. And apparently there were no near misses to her knowledge and not even a broken fingernail. So that was Penny's report. So I'll just throw that into the mix.
Okay, any other questions for Lorenzo? Sorry, did you have any more, Kelly?
I'm not entirely clear on the 2 Monk Street.
Yeah, I had a note there to understand the resource consent was on hold.
I can talk very briefly.
That'd be great, Heather. Thank you.
Get a paper, because it's been like 2 years and we've sort of talked about one thing and then said that can happen, that can't happen. We've floated some suggestions around. Can we actually get a paper to understand our options here and have some work done? Because it just keeps getting battered around and it feels like no one's owning it.
Yeah.
And we want to have some clarity as a way forward, because I think the board had a level of expectation and we just, why is the resource consent on hold? Have these options been looked at to access it from this way?
So I can speak to that.
Okay.
So I did have a chat with John Muston yesterday because I knew that you would raise it. So I was confident that you would raise it. So yes, that was explored, the option of coming in from the back. It doesn't change the requirement for a resource consent for
the car park, because it's about the car park and a pedestrian core zone. So regardless of which way you enter or exit, it still requires a resource consent.
So is our problem that we don't want to do the resource consent?
No, well, the budget, was no budget for a resource consent. And I understand that when the resource consent went through, it came back with a lot of conditions that had to be met, which weren't as simple as just putting some metal on. There was drainage and all sorts of.
But was the resource consent to enter from Monk Street or to enter from this car park?
Initially it was to enter from Monk Street, but has gone back to the planners and requested that conversation of would that change the requirements for a resource consent or any of the aspects of the resource consent, and it doesn't change it because it's still for a car park. So anyway, what the result was that, and I have a little note, that we need to come back with a report to the board with some options, interim options on what we do in the next few years. We were looking at it potentially for the LTP, put forward a request for a civic centre, beginning looking at that. And I'm not sure whether that stayed in the LTP or not, so I can't comment on that. That would have possibly looked at that site as well. But if that hasn't gone through to that 10-year plan, then we need to do a report with some interim options.
Yeah, can we get a paper, please? Thank you. Do I need to do anything?
No.
No, okay, thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I've just inquired progress on the remedial works for the Buffalo Beach shark bite.
Yes, that's a good question.
You're unfortunately picking all the projects that I don't know much about. All the other ones I do. Dean, can you help me out? Can you help me out, please, Dean?
Well, that's two way answer then, isn't it?
Two, yes.
Yeah. I can help you out, Lorenzo. I just need a couple of minutes just to research my emails. So is there another question? I'll come back to you.
Yeah, I have a question around the Hotwater Beach bus parking. And it says fees and charges will be considered during the 24-34 long-term plan. Will we see those?
Whenever that process is undertaken,
yes. Well, they'll come back to the board, and that is.
Well, I don't know that they'll come back to the board.
No, when we do our submission, we'll go through those.
LTP.
Yeah. Okay. And is that to capture and potentially look at returning to surf? That was the thinking, wasn't it?
I don't know if that goes into that level of detail, but I can find out.
Okay, that'll be good to know. Thank you. Any other questions? Is this a good time to bring up an update on pensioner housing?
It doesn't really sit within this. No, it would be better to.
When work program? I see it's not on our work program anymore.
I think it would be an offline conversation.
Oh, you want to do it after? Okay.
Bring that one up.
Yeah, that's what I meant. It was in response to your query. All right.
Okay, is that all right? I can give you highlights through this program if you like, going forward.
Yeah, if you'd like to, that's fine. While we're waiting for Dean, that's a good idea.
Okay. Well, the shovel's in the ground at Cook's Drive, with the stormwater works. Good. You may have noticed driving around town. And there's also a lot going on at Stormont Drive, Stormont Lane, with the rising main. So those two projects are going very well. The contractor on both of those is Hoppers. I visited those sites last week and pretty impressed with how they've set up. So there's no reason to not believe that they're going to continue on the way they started and complete by about April, May on those projects.
Oh, that's good.
So that's a good news story. They're going well. The one thing I may raise, because it's associated with the Whitianga Esplanade redevelopment. There's a capital works project on the third line of the report for 98,000. That's for health and safety initiatives on the wharf. However, related to that is there's as you well know, there's in the long-term plan further out, there's a multi-year project. And I have, with my hat on as a project manager, Urban Solutions, we've set up the advisory board for that, and we've had our first meeting before Christmas. So everybody's probably scratching their heads about what's happening next. So here it is. So so the plan is to we need to fix a date, but round about the 19th or 20th of March, we'll invite and reconvene that advisory group meeting in preparation for the big event, which is inviting the key stakeholders, the key users, and representatives of those to have their say and what their desires are and their ideas are. That's very important. And so what I plan to do is reach out to the game club and ask them kindly if we can use their meeting room facility out the back. I will get hold of the various key stakeholders and invite them to come along to that and do some preparatory work about thinking about their ideas and what's important to them and their priorities. And then I will attempt to facilitate a conversation to give everybody speaking rights to work out, to let them let us know what their priorities and needs and wants and issues are. So then we can take that on board for a next round, a follow up, and then present a number of concepts to them. So I'm looking at, I really want to do that to coincide with the LTP consultation period, so that so I can use it as during the forum, as well as having a really robust. It's going to be a really robust conversation. We can also let them know and advise them that there is another process going on, and they can put a submission into the LTP to support or otherwise that long-term plan multi-year project.
Okay, good.
Okay, does it sound good?
Yes, that sounds. I'm just thinking of that process. That's a good process.
What I'm going to try and attempt is, rather than talking to people and having forums individually, I'm going to attempt for the local community and the users to get together in one room and have a voice each, and try and listen to each other, and then see how it goes. That's what I'm trying. That's what I'm attempting to do. Whether in the context that they need to sort of be united. There's going to be disagreement. They need to be united in order to support the project for it to go ahead, and for us to know what to do. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that's that one. I think that's. Is there any? I think Dean's back with his answer.
Yes.
Hey, through the chair, just on the Buffalo Beach wall and what's referred to as the shark bite. There's very little update from what's in the work program. So what's in the work program, what was reported on last time, is that a consent application was made in December, and we expected a 20-day working time for Waikato Regional Council to consider that consent. They have come back to TCDC and asked for some additional information. That additional information request is being prepared. It's not, in our view, anything substantive. We've got the information, we just need to bundle it up and provide it. And then the clock will start again on that consent. So it's fairly much the same update as last time, except there has been an exchange of information.
Okay.
Forgive me while I pull my hair out.
Yes.
So Dean, with respect and not poking fingers at anybody, that shark bite occurred early 2023. So why was a consent lodged in December?
Yeah, through the chair, that's something that we can ask AIM on the team, but my understanding is that we're looking to renew the whole of the wall, as well as do the additional work on the shark bite, which was not included in the original consent. So, that's why the application's being considered in its entirety. With that, just generally comes complexity. So we're not only just looking at the shark bite, we're looking at the renewal of the whole of that wall in this application.
So there again, it would be useful for that to be published in some form for the community to understand, because the community just see it as another way to talk to every community board member and say the council's useless, they can't fix a simple hole in the thing. And worse, some of the elected members have been abused by people and received some really nasty feedback. The signage there was really helpful, but I think maybe we need an update in some form of media that actually explains why we've still got a detour on the waterfront nearly 12 months later.
Understood.
Thank you, Danny.
And just quickly on Brophy's Beach, I haven't been up that way for some time. That must be close to being finished. Is there a time frame for finishing that work? Is it all done?
It's all done.
Yeah, I haven't been down there. Does it look good?
It's good.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
I actually, through the chair, I actually ran it last week and it was really, I enjoyed the amenity. It's good.
Great. Fantastic. Please fill out a visitor feedback form.
Will do. Will do. All right.
Thank you.
So, just one more question for you, Dean. So when we get approached by people in the community as saying, gee, what's happening with the shark bite? That's taking a while. And how are we supposed to respond? Because I feel like they want to throw rocks at me.
Yeah, through the chair, the easiest way is to put them in contact with, just generally, put them in contact with Heather as the area manager. What Heather can then do is arrange for, the relevant staff to make sure that those questions are addressed well.
Yes.
But the point that Councillor Connell made earlier about our communications is also relevant. So yeah, that's how I would approach that.
All right. If there are no further questions for Lorenzo or Dean, Caroline, you have one. Sorry.
That's okay. I'm just asking Lorenzo with regarding to the dates of that proposed stakeholders discussions about the Esplanade. That's on the Tuesday, Wednesday before the Kaboto tournament, or after the tournament, sorry. Would it be worthwhile trying to bring it a bit closer to when some of those people might be in town that might be wanting to contribute ideas from their life experiences or perhaps developments elsewhere in the world?
I considered that. So in the consideration of this first workshop, it's going to be to facilitate and get some successful outcomes. I can't, at this stage, I'm not going to cast the net too wide. I just need the key critical people. And we carefully thought about the game club representing the recreational boating community, and also they organise and arrange the vast majority of the comps. So and they've also got huge membership locally. So I'm really leaning on the Whitianga Game Club to represent those interests. If I start inviting, the organisers of the Kubota and then the placemakers and all that sort of stuff, and I think that's the next stage. We've really got to get the key users, and there's a range of them. There's quite a range of them with different competing requirements in one room to actually start from a blank sheet of paper, really. Really just to really listen to them and then get it down, and then we've got a platform to go wider. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm just sort of wondering whether it's maybe an idea to go wider first, just to get a sprinkling or a splattering of ideas that maybe a smaller group at the beginning may not even think of. I understand you're saying there maybe in regards to users requiring this or that, Anyway, I just thought of these ideas, all thrown in the pot at once, and then from there extract which is perhaps more relevant locally.
All right, Delhi,
No, I support Lorenzo's approach, because the concern is you've got a lot of people from out of town, and I believe that the local operators and waterfront users and business owners might just feel like they're being sidelined a bit. So I would want to focus on the local stakeholders, and a lot of them have a lot to do with these tournaments anyway. And I certainly wouldn't want it to look like it was being driven by game fishers totally. I'd want to make sure it had a good voice from across all the wharf users.
Yeah, and it sounds like Lorenzo's got that in hand. Yeah.
I'm just really I've got to initiate this. There's been many attempts at this, I understand, and I really want to try and make it local and get the locals in behind it to get that grassroots support and understanding, and then we can go from there.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Sounds good. I totally support that. All right.
I appreciate it.
If there are no more questions, may I have a mover and a second, please, to receive the CAPEX? Thank you, Delhi. Seconded by Bess. Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? There being none, carried. All right, so that takes us to 3.5. I think we've covered some of these items on the action schedule. Any discussion?
So that on the work programme, the basketball hoop.
Yeah, I guess we'll need to open that and have a conversation.
Yeah. So through the chair, I've made a note of it, and we'll raise that with our parks team from today's meeting, and we'll forward them the meeting recording so that they can see Colville what he speaks about as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I think Colville was sort of a representative as the sports leader of the wider group. Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
So that will get passed on to our parks team for their.
Yeah. Awesome. Can we just not take it off here and leave it as open though, so it stays on that web program?
Yeah.
Through the chair, can become an updated action from today's presentation.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. So no more comments on the work program. May I have a mover and a seconder, please?
I'll move.
Thank you, Peter. Seconded by Bess.
Action schedule.
Sorry, action schedule. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Carried. So that takes us to item 3.6, which is on page 37, which is our chair's report. Unfortunately, she sends her apologies today. So if you have any questions, I could do my best, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. May I have a mover and a seconder, please?
I'll move it. Okay. You go and I'll go second.
Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, carried. Right, that takes us to
morning tea.
Morning tea and the end of our meeting. So 10:47, I declare the meeting closed. Thank you all.
Thank you.